Postures have long been used and proved useful to describe animals' behaviours and emotional states. A recent French study aimed to assess whether SEMG was a useful method in the detection of back disorders and to find whether there was a correlation between SEMG values and chronic neck postures. The aim of the study was to propose that neck postures may be a potential visible indicator of back disorders. The experiments were conducted on two different groups of horses. Group 1 consisted of 9 domestic horses kept in semi-natural conditions, being taken for occasional leisure rides. The second group consisted of 9 domestic horses housed in 3 by 3 metre boxes, being used in a riding school 4 to 12 hours a week, often being ridden in a more constraining way. Back evaluations were performed and each horse was examined head to tail for localised regions of vertebral stiffness. They were then classified into 1 of 3 categories: totally exempt, slightly affected, and severely affected of back disorders. To maintain data reliability, a second evaluation was conducted. The results obtained were 100% and 97.7% respectively. The static surface electrogram, or SEMG, recorded muscle activity along the neck, the shoulder, the base of the wither, the thoracolumbar joint, and the lumbosacral joint. The results were collected and arranged into the same 3 categories as the back evaluations. For the neck posture measurements, the horses were observed walking and standing, and the postures were recorded using photographs. 5 markers were placed on the horse, and the different angles were used to evaluate neck height and roundness. The angle formed by M1 to M2 represents the elevation of the neck, and the angles formed by M1 to M2 and M2 to M3 represents the neck's curve. The last 2 angles were pulled to form the head-jaw angle. The results of the chiropractor evaluations indicated that 55% of the 18 horses were severely affected, 6% were slightly affected, and the remaining 39% were totally exempt of back disorders. Correspondingly, the results of the SEMG evaluations indicated that 50% were severely affected, 11% were slightly affected, and the remaining 39% were totally exempt. The reliability between the chiropractor and SEMG results were highly correlated, with both evaluations indicating the same 7 horses to be totally exempt of back disorders. Both evaluations agreed in describing more severely affected horses in Group 2 than in Group 1. The correlation between neck posture and muscular activity indicates that a concave neck and wider head-jaw angle were both paired with higher SEMG values. No difference emerged between neck elevation and head-neck angle between both populations. The roundness, however, showed significant differences. Group 1 presented a more negative angle or rounder neck, which indicates lower muscular activity. Thus, Group 2 had higher SEMG values for most of the sites tested. The study highlighted a strong link between riding techniques, postures at work, and chronic vertebral disorders. Elevated and concave neck postures were associated with higher SEMG values, reflecting muscular activities that correlated with back disorders as shown by the chiropractor's evaluations. Neck postures, therefore, appeared as potential visible indicators of back disorders.